Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. I'm Kevin Coleman. I'm joined by Joe Mixie. Joe, how was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Staying dry unlike now, but some good sports happened this weekend. We're going to talk about it in just a second.
We are. Some great sports happening around. Of course, it's a little bit of a chilly day, and we're going to tell you now that the 14 under New England regional coverage over in Trumbull has been postponed today. They will be moved to tomorrow. We will keep you updated, so be sure to follow HAN Network on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. We'll keep you posted throughout the day as it's a rainy day, so it has caused a postponement for today's games, but they'll be moved to tomorrow. And Joe, it's going to be an exciting tournament. We're going to talk about this tournament later on, but initially, just your thoughts on what this rain delay could possibly mean for this tournament.
Oh, it's going to give some of these teams that haven't done as well a day to kind of relax. You know, teams like Trumbull and Waterford, this is their home turf, especially Trumbull, who's hosting the tournament, and they've done very well. They're undefeated thus far. So some of these other teams who have to travel farther distances, Rhode Island and Maine and some of the Massachusetts teams, they can sit back for a day. They can kind of scout out what they're going to do as we enter the single elimination bracket. You take a look at it, teams like Brattleboro, Vermont, who have not fared well at well as North Providence Smith for Rhode Island, and Keene, New Hampshire. Those kind of teams get to sit back and kind of take another day as the rain passes by and we move things into tomorrow.
Well, like we mentioned, we're going to talk about this tournament later on in the show. We're also going to be joined by former Major League Baseball player and Trumbull native who is now a head coach, or is on the coaching staff for the Chatham A's. That's Jamie D'Antona. So he came in and will join us. But right now we're going to and Joe's going to join us right now, and he's going to have us get caught up on everything that's going on with the Bridgeport Bluefish, who are right down the road. And Joe, let's just start things off. They're playing great right now in this second half, 10-7 right now, 2 games up on the Somerset Patriots. What is working for the Bluefish right now?
There's a lot working. More recently, they've had their struggles, and kind of after what happened yesterday at the ballpark, there's a little bit of a sour taste in the mouths of the Bluefish fans and the staff and the players. But overall, they've just, they've had good quality pitching and good quality hitting kind of combined, which was kind of hit or miss for the last 4 or 5 years, give and take. They've had some very good front office decisions, which has led to contracts being purchased, which is currently depleting Bridgeport's pitching staff. So that's going to become an obstacle that they're going to have to hurdle. So taking a look at what happened this week, Bridgeport was on a 7-game homestand. They went 4-3 during that time. They welcomed the Somerset Patriots in, their Liberty Division rivals, for a 3-game midweek series. They won 2 of those 3 games. And then they faced Southern Maryland at the ballpark at Harbor Yard in a weekend 4-game series. They lost the first game 10-1, and then they won the middle 2, did very well in those, and played error-free baseball. Last night they were on the verge of winning. They ended up losing 9-4. The game was 3-1 in the bottom of the 8th. Jose Heel stepped up and laced an RBI single that sent a pair home, and Bridgeport ended up taking the lead in the bottom of the 8th. And then we went to the top of the 9th. Former Major League pitcher Elvin Ramirez stepped up for the New York Mets. He got the first out. Second out was a 3-pitch strikeout, and then the third batter singled. So there was a man on first with 2 outs, and then the 4th batter got down to his last strike. So Bridgeport was winning by a run. There was a runner on first and 2 outs and 2 strikes, and ultimately the guy that was up for Southern Maryland doubled. The inning completely unraveled, and Bridgeport lost 9-4. So it was very tough to be able to have that happen. Bridgeport was looking for the series win. They get the homestand win, and they split the series with Southern Maryland. But yeah, they're looking for some good quality pitching. We had a couple of spot starts last week by Connecticut native Mike Aquilino, a guy that our own Mike Suppy is friends with, a guy that had played at the University of New Haven and later the Milford Hunters, who's an amateur team, so he hadn't had any professional baseball experience. He pitched 5 innings on Tuesday, took a no decision. He pitched 5.1 Yesterday also took a no decision. So 2 pretty good spot starts for Mike Aquilino. Didn't throw a whole lot of strikeouts, but he's facing guys that have played in the majors and all around the world. And this is a guy who's a police officer during the day. So he did a pretty good job for Bridgeport. They're looking for more pitching staff right now. They have a day off today, and then they're going to go on the road to York later this week before heading home against Long Island.
Now, you mentioned York. They play in the Freedom Division. Talk a little about the Freedom Division right now, because you got Lancaster sitting at 9-7. You got York sitting 9-8. Both of them, pretty neck and neck. You got Southern Maryland 8-8. You got Sugar Land Skeeters sitting at 7-9. This is a pretty, tight-knit Freedom Division. Talk a little about that.
So the big thing with the Freedom Division, when you talk about it a little bit, Sugar Land won the whole league last year, so they were the 2016 Atlantic League of Professional Baseball champions. They've not had a very good year. They lost a lot of players. They had some of their best players purchased into affiliated ball, and they've just not done well. They're last in the second half and third overall. In the first half, they finished third, so they got a lot of working up to do. Southern Maryland has been the big surprise in the Freedom Division. Southern Maryland and Lancaster and the Blue Crabs were for a long time heading into the end of the first half of the season, which ended at the beginning of the July. They were about 10 games over 500. Southern Maryland and Lancaster, the odds would have it, they end up tying, and then the season series between the two of them was not enough to determine a tiebreaker because you had a postponement. So what the league ended up doing is they scheduled a one-game playoff tiebreaker at Regency Furniture Stadium in Waldorf, Maryland, to determine the winner of the first half of the Freedom Division. That's never happened before. So we're going to have that this Sunday. That's the big news of the Freedom Division between Lancaster and Southern Maryland. So that's going to be a good one to see who is going to grab a playoff berth there. But as Bridgeport could see, Southern Maryland's a good team. They got a lot of big bats. Lancaster the same. So they're battling it out with each other there. Sugar Land back behind, and York, who Bridgeport had played a whole lot in July, is still struggling to stay afloat. You think when you have York on the schedule, those are some games that you should be winning if you are like Bridgeport and have the best record in the league right now.
All right, we look at that Freedom Division. We won't even look towards Liberty because, I think we'd all agree that, we're rooting for the Bridgeport Bluefish here to win that division. But out of that division, the Freedom, what is your pick? I know we still have a lot of baseball to play, but if you had to pick one team right now in this state, if you think by the time of the end of the year, what's that team that's going to win that division?
Well, that's tough because you have 4 teams. There's a whole lot of parity in the league. Like I said, so what they do is they take, the winner from the first half and the winner from the second half, and if the same team wins both halves, then you go to a wild card, which includes all the teams. So right now, it's between Lancaster and Southern Maryland to see who's going to win the first half. That's going to go down to a game. I would think that Southern Maryland is going to win that game. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They got a little bit of confidence back. They didn't play amazingly good baseball. They got to rotate. Bridgeport picked apart the core of their pitching rotation, so that was where they were able to get the job done. But the game is at home. It's a winner-take-all game. They're going to have momentum. Lancaster has a little bit more of the experience, but I guess I'll take Southern Maryland to win that game and win the first half, which would put them in the playoffs. And then the second half is a toss-up. We're only about 13, 14 games in about 16, 17 at this point into the second half. Can't really make a prediction yet.
Yeah, it's still, like we said,
still a little early in the second half.
A lot of baseball to be played. Joe, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Trumbull native and a guy who even made his appearance in the show at Major League Baseball level, Jamie D'Antona. He's going to come in and he's going to join me, and we're going to have a great conversation. So do not go anywhere right after this on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Celebrate summer with fresh, made-to-order picnic boxes from Walter Stewart's Market. We have delicious summery selections from buttermilk fried chicken to grilled lemon chicken kebab, grilled shrimp Caesar salad wraps, or lobster salad rolls. Our easy-to-carry picnic boxes come with your choice of a meal, as well as dessert, beverage, and utensils. Order online for simple pickup options. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and online at stewartsmarket.com.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside.
Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The InSports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
School's out, the weather is hot, and the fish are biting. Whether you're heading to the beach or out on a boat, stop in at the dock shop before you go to fill your beach bag or tackle box with everything you'll need for fun in the sun. A new beach cover-up, some sunscreen, or just some bait, the dock shop has you covered from either location. 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. And yes, you heard that right. Bait is now available in Darien and Westport. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. DockShop.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram with one of the largest inventories of new 2- and 4-door Wranglers. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Browse our websites, scapchryslerjeep.com or scapdodge.net to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck you've been looking for. Just 2 miles from both I-95 or the Merritt Parkway exit 44. Save thousands right now at the Summer Clearance Event. Going on now through July 31st.
I'm Tracy Masella, a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN Network.
Back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Kevin Coleman here. We are now joined by the batting coach of the Chatham A's, Jamie D'Antona. And Jamie, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking time to join us.
Thanks for having me.
Now let's start things off. You know, you're the hitting coach with Chatham A's. Talk about what the season's like so far and what this experience is like for you.
It's been great so far. It's just been me coming in and pretty much talking hitting and talking approaches, especially post college, more of a professional style of hitting. Metal bat versus wood bat is a little bit different swing. And it's been a little bit of a transitional period for those guys to understand that, and that's where hopefully I've come in and kind of helped out.
And you, just before we came on, you talked about how you're worried about maybe if you were adjusting some of their swings, you're worried about the feedback, and everything's been positive so far for these hitters. Talk about what it's like, not during the game when you guys are in the cage working on their swings. What's been the approach like for these young players?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a challenge because most of these guys have had at least 2, or some of them have 1 year. We have a couple guys that are actually freshmen on the offensive side that were All-Americans in Shea Langoliers and Ashton McGee. And then we have most of the other guys are usually sophomores, and they've had very good, starts to their career in college. So trying to get them to change their approach and change their swing a little bit just to become a better hitter in the Cape, especially with wood bat, I thought coming in was going to be a challenge. But it's pretty much just been the guys are asking questions and believing in me, thankfully, and not giving me too much pushback because of what their approach has been in college. And I've been in contact with all of their coaches before, trying to make sure that I was not going to overstep my bounds. And even the college coaches have been very, very receptive, and they've been great with me as well.
What have you learned about yourself so far this year from coaching?
I take it very seriously, and I become very attached to it. When guys get out or they don't get the calls they need to from umpires, or we've had really bad luck this year, so when guys are really hitting on the screws and hitting it right at people, I take it personal. And it's almost like I'm back playing. Not as much, but almost. And
talk about your coach, the manager right now is John Schiffner. What's the chemistry like, not only with the coaching staff, but what's the chemistry like as a team as a whole? Because you guys are traveling a lot. It's a tight-knit group. What's the chemistry like throughout the whole roster?
Well, Schiff's been there, and this is going to be his 25th year. He's
amazing.
Most winningness. If that's a word. Sure.
You got it.
We're going to roll with it. Manager in the Cape League history. And I think this is going to be his last year. So it's really amazing to actually be back with my former manager, because I played for him in 2002, and be on this side of the ball. Instead of being on the other side of the white lines, I'm being on the coaching side. But we have 6 other coaches on our team as well, and everybody is very close knit. It's as close to a summer family as you're going to get, both coaching staff and kids.
Now let's talk about, you mentioned your playing career. You know, you got a little bit of a taste of the major league lifestyle at the show. Talk about what that was like for you in 2008 with the Diamondbacks.
It was great. I was obviously very fortunate to be drafted by a great organization, by the Diamondbacks, and spent 5+ years in the minor leagues, and finally got a call in 2008. First, and thankfully it happened when it did, because I was in Arizona and my air conditioning had been out for about a month, and wasn't really willing to spend the money on getting a new air conditioner for my truck. So 115 degrees rolling down the windows is not exactly the coolest thing in the world. But after obviously getting to the big leagues, air conditioning got fixed real quick. And
in that major league game, you get your first hit. It's a single. What is that like when you round the bases, heading to first base, and knowing you got that first major league hit?
Thankfully, it was against a guy that I had faced in college, in minor league ball, for many times. So it was about as close to being comfortable for that type of situation as I could ever have been. And it really didn't hit me until much later. I think because for anybody that's been in that situation, we played so many games that it just kind of all melts together. So even though that is at a different stage, you don't hear the crowd, you don't worry about the situation, you just go out there and do your job, like you've been doing since you were, 6, 5, whatever it was. So it wasn't that much of a big deal for me in the moment. But obviously, as soon as I got back into the dugout and, everybody started talking about it and everything else, it kind of set in, and then it was just, breathtaking.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. You still have that ball?
Of course.
Of course.
That's a bad question. I gave it away, decided I didn't need it anymore. My parents have it in their house. Most of the stuff that I have from baseball is at my parents' house.
So now, speaking of your parents, you play ball at Trumbull High School. You get to play with Craig Breslow, another major leaguer, and then you go on to play in Wake Forest. Talk about your high school career, playing here in Fairfield County, and then going on and playing at Wake Forest in the ACC.
And it's funny because everybody asks about your earlier time in playing, and I remember little pieces of it. I just drove around now, and I remember going to certain guys' houses to pick them up for games or dropping them off after games. It was easy to find Trumbull High, even though I haven't been back into Trumbull in 16, 17 years.
Wow.
But the little things you remember are just, the guys you play with. And a lot of us have stayed at least close-ish, and we'll give, messages every now and again. But I still have all the pictures from our state championship run my sophomore year. So memories have become more of pictures, and then I can associate those pictures with memories. But it's been, Fairfield County, and especially FCAC, and being in the class that we were at Trumbull High really did help me move on to that next step of college, and then college helped me go, to pro ball.
What are some of the fondest memories you have throughout your youth program here in Trumbull and, just going up the ranks?
I remember Unity more than I probably remember anything else. Playing on Unity's fields and then going to Nichols. The first time I put on catcher's gear at Nichols, and my father wasn't there. He was working his second job, and my mom had to call him and say, hey, I don't know what's going on, but he's putting on gear. And it being probably about 4 sizes too big for me at the time, which thinking back now, I don't remember ever being small. But apparently I was small enough to be engulfed and swallowed up by catcher's gear. But most of the stuff that I remember is the Little League fields, not more the games, but just the fields and like how to get through to Tashua. The Unity fields being, that was our biggest complex. So seeing, 6 fields or 7 fields, whatever it was back then, all at one spot was different. It was special. It was memorable.
Now, speaking of the youth program, you get to speak to some of the young players tonight. What's the message going to be to them at that banquet?
When I get to the banquet, I'll let you know. I haven't really decided on what I wanted to really say. Most of it is just going to be, the boilerplate stuff of making sure everybody does their work off the field, and the schoolwork is very important. Unfortunately for me, I had 4 knee surgeries and had some complications afterwards, so my career got cut short based on injury. So going back to school for me was a big thing. My parents were both teachers, so knowing that, you know, no matter how much they enjoy baseball, how good they are at baseball at 14, 15, 16, even into college, there are so few that make it to the next step and make a decent enough living to not worry about ever having a job again. You know, everybody sees the guys on TV that are getting these ginormous contracts, and they don't realize that minor league ball is I mean, absolutely awful in pay. I remember my first year in short season, I was getting, I think, $860 a month before taxes, and then clubhouse dues, and then apartments, and then food. So we were making under minimum wage for 6 months, 7 months of the year. And it's not a very glorious way of life. But for some guys, you know, they don't realize just how much of a grind minor league ball is. They just see big league ball, and they see dollar signs, and they see, you know, faces on TV. So the biggest thing that I always talk about whenever I do any of, you know, public speaking is more about the education. I mean, it's the only thing that you're always going to have, no matter if baseball's done or not. And to try to use baseball as a vessel to get into a better college maybe than you probably should have or could have, so that you can set your life up for the rest of the time.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. That's so important to emphasize to young kids like that, especially when they're in middle school and going to high school. And that's such a cool message. So I want to thank Jamie. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. Good luck tonight. Have fun. And again, we want to wish you and the Chatham A's the best of luck throughout the season.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to come right back. We'll have more on Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Save thousands right now at the Summer Clearance event. Going on now through July 31st.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
At Pure Barre Ridgefield, our tried and true method can shape every body and fit any schedule. Pure Barre is a total body workout using the ballet bar to perform small isometric movements which burn fat, sculpt muscles, and create long, lean physiques. Sweat away the day and get lost in the music. Pure Barre Ridgefield, located at 86 Danbury Road. Like us on Facebook at Pure Barre Ridgefield.
If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN Network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier Network, and we've also reached more than 2 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports here on the HAN Network. Kevin Coleman and Joe Mixie. And Joe, I must say, I love the pocket square you're rocking today.
I'm trying to learn after the best.
Well, listen, clearly someone else hasn't listened. That's he'll go unnamed. But again, I like the pocket square. But
we'll have to get him one with soccer balls on it.
Well, we'll discuss that. Soccer season's just around the corner. But we're sticking with baseball right now in local news. Former Fairfield Prep pitcher David Garrix has reached an agreement with the Minnesota Twins organization. Garrix is the second Pomona College baseball player to be signed by a Major League Baseball team this year. Garrix ended his senior year with a career high of 86 strikeouts. He also earned all West Region honors during his junior season as he finished the year with a perfect 7-0 record and a 2.31 ERA with only 16 earned runs surrendered in 62-plus innings pitched. So congratulations to David. It's a very exciting time for the young man. And again, photos courtesy of Pomona College. But we're going to switch gears over now again to local baseball. Joe, we have the 2017 New England Babe Ruth Baseball Regional Tournament going on right now in Trumbull, which is right down the road. Of course, today, unfortunately, the Monday games have been postponed, Joe, due to rain, which is very disappointing.
It is, and you were expecting some good baseball that's going to be postponed today, as we already talked about that. But there you see the bracket. The big winners so far, Trumbull, Connecticut, the host, and Hingham, Massachusetts. Both of them are undefeated. And then Augusta, Maine, and Waterford, Connecticut are each 2-1. Keene, New Hampshire, and Pittsfield, Mass. are each 1-2. And then North Providence, Smith out of Rhode Island, and Brattleboro have not won a game here. Brattleboro's run differential is at a -24. North Providence, Smith at a -13. And then Trumbull is +5 and Hingham is +11. So you got a pretty big difference there in those two teams. So you see, you take a look at it, and I want to know your thoughts, and then I'll give mine, Kevin, on which matchup do you think could be the most competitive? Because Trumbull played 3 games. One of them they completely blew through. Waterford has the only run rule. They run-ruled Brattleboro 11-0 back on Saturday. But which one do you think could be competitive here? I
like the one at the bottom right now. You got Augusta, Maine, and Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And Augusta, Maine, known to have a good baseball team. They've had a pretty good run. These are 2 very competitive teams. I think they go a little, I think they go into this tournament, not as talked about as maybe a Trumbull and a Hingham and maybe even a Keene as well. And you mentioned Waterford. They have a lot of offensive power. That matchup too, I think Waterford and Keene is a good matchup to look at. But I think right now the matchup I'm looking at is the game that I guess we'll find out what time it's going to be tomorrow. But that Augusta, Maine and Pittsfield, Massachusetts game I like a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned Keene. All of their games have been very close if you take a look at it. Trumbull beat them 4-3 in day 1 back on Friday. And then in day 2, they beat North Providence Smith 6-4. And then in day 3, another close one for them. Augusta beat them out 9-8. So it's not like they've really been blown away at any point in this tournament. You mentioned some of the continuity of these teams. These 14U, 13, 14, and then you have the older kids and the ones a little bit younger. You go to Cal Ripken, and then you get into the World Series. This isn't like high school. These are kind of born and bred teams where they can be good year after year after year. You have the same kids coming back, with the same kind of neighborhood atmosphere. These are, brothers and sisters and cousins all playing together, and they come out and they play year round, and there's a lot of team chemistry. So some of these teams, like Trumbull, like Augusta, and like Pittsfield, Massachusetts, they're consistently in here. So a lot of these kids have seen this level of action before, so that certainly helps them. Really, you step up and you get into playing, 3, 4, 5 games in 4 or 5 days, and sooner or later your pitching is going to run out, especially at the the 14, the pre-high school level. You start getting into the nitty-gritty of it and statistics, and it's kind of tough to do that. You just got to be ready to go at any given time and step up and hit the ball, put it into play, and see what happens, and don't commit any errors.
Well, my last question to you, if you look at that bracket right now, what's that one team? Who's going to win it all, Joe?
Trumbull's killing it right now, honestly, and you would love to see Trumbull and Hingham, Massachusetts. What's going to be interesting for Trumbull is, since they're the host, if they win against Brattleboro, they're going to face the winner of Waterford and Keene. So if if Waterford wins, they're going to face a team that they've already had to face. And that's going to be a little bit harder for them, whereas if you're Hingham, Massachusetts, you take care of North Providence Smith, you're going to face the winner of Augusta and Pittsfield, and 2 teams that you're not nearly as familiar with as Trumbull and Waterford are with each other, since they already had to face each other in the state tournament. So you got to take that into account. That's going to be a highly competitive game if it does indeed go down in the semifinals. We're going to have the coverage. It'll be fun to watch because this is the best of the best in New England. 14's a great age to see. I'm excited for it. I know you and Frank are too.
We're looking forward to it. Like we mentioned, we will keep you posted on what our schedule is going to be like for this tournament. Of course, a little bit of rain has caused a little bit of a hiccup in the schedule, but again, we will keep you posted throughout the week and throughout today and throughout tomorrow as well. For Joe Mixie, I'm Kevin Coleman. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.